Welcome to the Rock and Wellness Podcast, the show that takes you on a voyage to better health, wellness, and happiness that will rock your world. With me, Rachel Joy Olson, your host, your coach, and your biggest fan. Welcome to episode 25 of the Rock and Wellness Podcast, and thank you so much for tuning in today. In this episode, you will learn that fat is not evil, and that you need to eat a certain amount of healthy fats, especially omega fats, in your diet to achieve your best health. Now, many people think that in order to get enough omega fatty acids in the diet, which is extremely good for brain health, you must eat fish. This is absolutely untrue, and you will learn why today. The vegan or plant-based diet is receiving a lot of attention these days as more people make the choice to refrain from eating animal-based foods for various reasons. However, with this new popularity comes much scrutiny, like anything else does. Many people question if the plant-based diet can provide all the nutrients necessary to maintain good health. After much research, it does seem that besides the question of how to get enough protein with plants, which I spoke about in a previous podcast, another common topic is whether or not a plant-based diet can provide enough fat-soluble vitamins and omega fatty acids for optimal health. So let's start today with a quick review of the different types of vitamins. Vitamins are classified into two groups, water-soluble and fat-soluble. Most vitamins are water-soluble, which means they dissolve in water. These vitamins are used in the body by being absorbed in the water and either delivered to the parts of the body that require them or simply eliminated. Have you ever taken a multivitamin and noticed the smell of vitamins when you urinate? These are the water-soluble vitamins that could not be used by the body flushing out of your system. This elimination is especially common when the vitamin is synthetic as opposed to a natural food source because synthetic vitamins are not as bioavailable or usable by the body. That is why it's really important to stay away from synthetic vitamins. Fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K are most abundant in foods that are high in fat and are best absorbed when ingested with fat. Because these vitamins are abundant in fatty foods, they are best known to be found in animal-based foods. However, many plant-based foods have been shown through extensive research to provide more than enough fat-soluble vitamins. Let's go through the list. Vitamin A, also known as retinol, is a fat-soluble vitamin that supports the body in a variety of ways, including vision maintenance, immune system function, cell growth, hair growth, and maintaining fertility and fetal development. It's true that the most abundant dietary sources of vitamin A are from animal foods such as liver, fish, and butter. However, studies have shown that vitamin A precursors, such as beta-carotene, are abundant in red, yellow, and orange vegetables, as well as some leafy, dark green vegetables. The body uses these retinol activity equivalents, or RAEs, by converting them into vitamin A to be used by the body. Although it may be easier for a meat eater to get the adequate amounts of vitamin A, people who choose to refrain from eating animals can get more than enough when they eat a well-balanced whole food diet. So if you are vegan and are concerned about your vitamin A intake, you can meet your vitamin A requirements for the day by adding an abundant amount of these following foods in your diet. Carrot juice, a really great source of vitamin A, such as about a quarter cup a day would be great. Dark leafy greens such as kale or spinach, sweet potatoes, cantaloupe, dark orange winter squashes, including pumpkin. According to research, it is important to eat more plant-based foods to ensure you get enough of the precursors required to produce vitamin A. Therefore, it's really important that if you are a vegan, you pay special attention to eating foods that are rich in color, specifically yellow and orange foods, to make sure that you get enough. Now, vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin that the human body makes when exposed to sunlight. Of course, this is the best way to get vitamin D, but not all of us have access to enough sunlight. This is a really good thing since vitamin D food sources are limited. For those of us who live in places where we don't get much skin exposure to sunlight due to cold temperatures, it is important to supplement or eat foods rich in vitamin D. Vitamin D supports the body by regulating calcium and potassium levels to support bone maintenance, and by regulating and strengthening the immune system. As I already talked about, the body can produce vitamin D when exposed to sunlight. However, the main food sources for vitamin D include fatty fish, fish oil, and mushrooms that have been treated with ultraviolet light. There are two types of vitamin D. They are vitamin D2, which is found in mushrooms and some other plants, and vitamin D3, which is found in animal source foods such as eggs and fish oil and produced by your skin when exposed to sunlight. Many will argue that the plant-based version of vitamin D is not as effective. However, vitamin D2 has been shown to be just as effective in raising blood levels of vitamin D as animal-derived vitamin D3 when it's taken at its recommended dose. So if you're vegan or eat a predominantly plant-based diet, you will want to pay particular attention to getting adequate amount of vitamin D. It's really essential to work with your physician to make sure that you're getting the right levels for your body. Okay, but you can start by doing your part and getting enough by getting into the sun. Of course, time in the sun will vary based on the type of skin, so it's really good and important to talk to your physician. And of course, taking a high quality vitamin D supplement. And again, I'm going to recommend that you contact a physician or healthcare expert about a good vitamin D and how much to take for you before you start taking it. Now, vitamin E, we'll move on to that one, is a powerful antioxidant that prevents oxidative stress and the breakdown of cellular tissues. Vitamin E is well known for its anti-aging properties and skin-enhancing benefits. I used to know my mom, she would have these liquid vitamin E capsules and rub it all over her skin, and she swears that's why, she rarely has any wrinkles. So getting enough of this fat-soluble vitamin isn't usually a concern for people who are plant-based or vegan or really anyone, because it's abundantly found in vegetable oils, seeds, and nuts, which are, a large part of a plant-based diet. Vitamin D deficiency is also rare, so it's not much of a concern for those of us on a vegan diet or really any diet. Now, vitamin K is an important fat-soluble vitamin. However, getting enough in the diet doesn't seem to be too much of a concern since it is produced by gut bacteria in the colon. Vitamin K supports our body's function by helping the body form blood clots. So without vitamin K, you would bleed to death if you were cut. It supports bone health, prevents the calcification of blood vessels, and potentially reducing the risk of heart disease. This vitamin is divided into two main groups, vitamin K1, which is found in plant-based sources of foods and is the main form of vitamin K in the diet, and vitamin K2. This variety of vitamin K is found in animal source foods and also fermented soy products. But vitamin K2 is also produced by gut bacteria in the colon. So some sources also mention that there are other 3 synthetic forms, vitamin K3, K4, and K5. And of course, I highly, highly caution anybody to refrain from using a synthetic vitamin unless it is completely researched and you've got a healthcare professional guiding you through it. So the best plant-based sourced foods for this nutrient are leafy green vegetables, vegetable oils such as canola, soy, and olive, and natto, which is a fermented soy product. And if you've never tried natto, I highly recommend you try it. It's not personally one of my favorites, but I think it's important for people to try because we do not in our world today seem to eat enough fermented products at all. So for other fermented products would be like kimchi, sauerkraut. Okay, those are types of foods that ideally for really healthy gut bacteria. So if we want enough vitamin K2 produced in our body, we need to feed the gut bacteria. And a really healthy gut thrives on fermented foods. So maybe consider looking at getting some more fermented foods in the diet if you don't think that you're getting enough vitamin K2, or even if you think you have a little bit of problems with your gut bacteria. So some may argue that because the main source of vitamin K2 is animal products, then a vegan may become deficient and have problems with blood clotting. However, studies have shown there to be no difference in blood clotting ability between vegans and meat eaters, likely because it is made in the gut bacteria and it doesn't require you to eat it. So it is not considered an essential vitamin, which means our body, we don't have to eat it in the diet. Our body will make it. I know that for me personally, I have absolutely no problem with this vitamin and with blood clotting at all. So even long-term vegans seem to be okay. But what if you just can't eat enough food? So it's really true that the recommended intake of vitamins and minerals can seem like a lot. But if you're eating a diet that's well balanced in whole food, nutrient-rich plant-based foods, you will not be deficient in really any nutrients. Usually where problems occur is when people choose a plant-based diet and then live off processed and vegan junk foods such as pasta, baking, boxed foods instead of eating a large variety of beans and legumes, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. So even if you're eating a well-balanced whole food diet, you still might find it hard to ingest the vast amount required for optimal health. So for example, did you know that the average person requires 7 to 14 servings of fruits and vegetables per day to maintain good health? That's a lot. The average person that I see, so when I sit down with somebody for a nutrition consultation, I usually see the average person eating 3 to 4 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, and it's rarely a good variety. It's usually the same thing on a regular basis. Now, an athlete or active person, to really truly prevent oxidative stress and maintain good health, requires up to 25 servings of fruits and vegetables. There's no way the average active adult or even athlete is getting that much. That's a lot of food. And for most people, this absolutely isn't possible without supplementation. Now, if you choose to use supplements to get enough vitamins in your diet, it is important that you stay away from synthetic forms of vitamins, as they have been shown to cause toxicity in the body. So it's really important to get your vitamins from natural food-based sources wherever possible. And there is really only one whole food supplement brand I recommend because it's backed by top quality research. It's 100% plant-based, and I've seen many benefits from it. Now, let's switch gears for a moment and talk a little bit about omega fatty acids. You've probably heard that taking an omega supplement is good for your health, but when you hear that, do you have all the facts? Yes, it's true we need to eat omega fats because we really need them for our brain health and to be at our best health. But do we really need to eat fish or take fish oil supplements to get the omegas we need? And that answer is an emphatic no. Did you know that fish are just the middle guys? Fish do not actually produce omega fatty acids themselves. They're like us. They need to eat it. They eat plant-based omega foods like algae, which are then processed in their little bodies and end up in their flesh. The problem is so many other things end up in the flesh of fish that we should not be ingesting and can cause great harm to our health. So what are omega fatty acids? Well, without getting too scientific, in simple terms, all fatty acids that bear the omega label are unsaturated, containing one or more double bonds. There are many types of omega fatty acids which all play an important role for your health. However, these fatty acids must be consumed as part of a balanced diet because the body will not make them themselves. So they are an essential fatty acid. Okay, anytime you hear that essential, it means that the body needs to have it from an outside source. Research shows a variety of health benefits that come from taking omega fatty acids. Let's review some of the different forms of omega fats and their health benefits. So omega-3 fatty acids are considered polyunsaturated, and your body is unable to make these on its own. Therefore, it's a nutrient you must consume. Unfortunately, the typical Western diet does not contain enough omega-3s, and a deficiency may contribute to chronic diseases such as obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. There are 3 main types of omega-3 fats, but the most common are ALA, which is alpha-linoleic acid, and a lot of people know about that one. It's found in a variety of plant-based foods and needs to be converted into the other forms, which is EPA or DHA, before it can be used by the body. The health benefits of omega-3 fats, though, are vast. They help to reduce inflammation. They're shown to help lower risk of chronic diseases such as heart disease, cancer, and arthritis. Highly concentrated in the brain, and they appear to be important for cognitive, brain memory, and performance and behavioral function. They help in weight management, prevent dementia, promote bone health, and sometimes in some cases have reduced asthma symptoms. Foods that are high in omega-3 fats include chia seeds, Brussels sprouts, algae, hemp seeds, walnuts, and flaxseed. Omega-6 fatty acids are also polyunsaturated fatty acids and also need to be obtained from the diet. The typical Western diet usually has more than enough of this type of polyunsaturated fat and sometimes too much. Unfortunately, too much of this fat can, in the processed form, can promote inflammation and be detrimental to health. However, some omega-6 fatty acids have been shown to have many health benefits, including to provide energy to the body, support brain health and function, stimulate hair and skin growth, maintain good bone health, help regulate metabolism, support reproductive health, help reduce nerve pain, and reduce inflammation. So some foods that are high in omega-6 fats include flaxseed, hemp seed, grapeseed oil, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, pine nuts, pistachios, and acai. Omega-9 fatty acids are considered monounsaturated and can be produced by the body and are the most abundant fats in most cells of the body. The health benefits of omega-9 fats include they support metabolic health, reduce LDL or what's considered the bad cholesterol, improve insulin sensitivity, and help to decrease inflammation. Foods high in omega-9 fats include olive oil, cashews, almonds, avocados, peanuts, and walnuts. Omega-7 fatty acids are newly recognized and are also monounsaturated fats. The most common omega-7 fatty acid is palmitoleic acid, which has been shown to have a variety of health benefits in the body, including reduced inflammation, reduction of LDL cholesterol and triglyceride levels, lowers insulin levels, improves liver function, promotes weight loss, is linked to improved bowel regularity, and rejuvenation of the skin, as it's said to nourish and sustain healthy cells in the digestive tract and in the skin. Foods high in omega-7 fats include olive oil, macadamia oil, and sea buckthorn oil. So why is a plant-based omega blend better for you than a fish oil? Well, fish have been known to be the main source of omega fatty acids. However, fish eat plants, such as algae, to get their omega fatty acids. Their little bodies, as I already mentioned, their little body doesn't make it. So why are we eating the middleman? Isn't it much more effective to go straight to the source? So plant-based sources of omegas do not have mercury and radiation contamination that fish products do. The American Heart Association says that the adverse health effects of taking fish omega products shown in many studies include abnormal heart arrhythmias, may be the result of methylmercury, an environmental contaminant found in certain fish that may diminish the health benefits of omega fatty acids. I remember I went to see Tony Robbins once at an event here in my hometown, and he'd just come off of getting mercury poisoning, and he got it from eating fish. So he was like, no more fish for me. So it's very contaminated, unfortunately. So fish, I'm sure, has health benefits, but the negative benefits right now, or the negative aspects of, the mercury poisoning and other things, I think are now outweighing the positive benefits. Okay, so there are many plant-based sources of omega fatty acids that will provide the body with so many different health benefits that, including no fishy aftertaste, which is so gross. There's just no longer any need to take a fish oil supplement. According to Dr. Brian Clement, one of my mentors, he's also the director of Hippocrates Health Institute in West Palm Beach, Florida, and he's an absolute leader in health and nutritionist medicine, provides many reasons why we should not be eating fish and other aquatic life in his book, Killer Fish. So I would highly, highly recommend this book. I'll put it on the show notes so that you guys can take a look at it when you can. Some of the reasons Dr. Clement gives for not eating fish is, so fish harbor saturated fats and disease-causing elements derived from the way we prepare them for consumption. So all the extra things that we add. These little creatures are filled with industrial waste products and radiation. Fish are full of parasites and amoebas. Consumption of fish has been shown to increase the chances of heart disease, strokes, neurological deficits, cancer, autoimmune, and endocrine disorders. Farm-raised fish have significantly higher levels of toxins than fish found in nature. And 80% of fish caught in rivers and tributaries were found to contain significant amounts of pharmaceutical drugs, because the water treatment plants cannot remove drugs before releasing water back into the environment. As far as I'm concerned, even the fact that there's even a shred of evidence that fish can cause all these problems is enough for any of us to stay far away from fish as possible. Of course, for those of us who want to maintain good health, right? Especially when there are other, even healthier options. So you might be thinking now, well, okay, if I can't take a fish-based supplement, then what omega supplement is best? Well, if you can't get enough omega fatty acids in your diet through food, then supplementation really does become necessary. When looking to purchase an omega fatty acid supplement, you do want to make sure that the source has been researched. It's been tested for safety and approved by Health Canada. Fortunately, many companies do not take the time to do any of these things because it takes time and money. However, the companies that have taken the time to become approved by Health Canada have a safer and much higher quality product. Just like any whole food supplement, I only recommend one high-quality plant-based omega blend. This product has gone through numerous third-party, double-blind, placebo-based research, as well as extensive testing and approval by Health Canada, and proven to be effective and safe for consumers. This plant-based omega product is not only of high quality, but it also tastes so good you can chew on the capsule or drink the oil right out of the capsule. It's been shown to be a great topical hair and skin treatment as well. Now, one of the most important things when striving for good health is to do as much research as you can. I always say to my clients, I might recommend something to you, just like I'm doing in this podcast, but don't take my word for it. Do your own research. There's so much information that exists out there that basically proves that plant-based foods are the best sources of omega fatty acids. These foods provide a variety of health benefits without the extra poisons like mercury and side effects. I love answering questions on topics like this, and I'm always happy to provide you with any information you need. I think it's important for us as consumers to get as much information as we can, figure out what makes sense to us, and then we can make informed choices about our diet and overall health. And I think that's what's frustrating for most people, is that there's so much information out there, and a lot of the times the decisions aren't made on research or even common sense sometimes. Connect with me. More than happy to have these discussions and really teach you a little bit more about these supplements, plant-based foods, and how you can get all the nutrition you need for your best health. Well, until next time, my friends, keep rocking your wellness. Thanks for joining me on this episode of the Rockin' Wellness Podcast. Make sure to visit my website at www.rjowellness.com, where you can subscribe to the show and check out all the show notes. While you're at it, if you found value in this podcast, if you'd simply tell a friend about it, that would help out too. You may choose to join the R.J.O Wellness community to take advantage of the freebies, courses, and coaching that will take your voyage to the next level, or support this podcast with your monthly membership. Until next time, my friends, keep rocking your wellness.